We have a ton of new updates about Jeffrey Epstein, including bizarre news about this New Mexico ranch that was once occupied by him. And look, it is almost 19 years after Jeffrey Epstein's first plea deal in Florida. 7 years after that thing happened in the jail cell. Was it him? And it's been 1 year almost to the day since Virginia Giuffre took her own life. And as of right now, the number of human beings who have been held criminally accountable for what happened to these girls remains the same. Right now, one person is in jail, Ghislaine Maxwell. That's it. And we know that there's more evidence, more files, more suspects. And yet, because Donald Trump is in charge, his personal lawyer is now the acting attorney general, every layer between the truth and the public, it's been replaced with Trump loyalists. And they're not going to lift a finger. And the powerful men who were on that airplane, they've all been quietly redacted out of documents and out of history. And Trump allegedly started an illegal war with Iran to distract from the release of these files. But there are major moves that are being happened in this case, and I'm going to tackle a few of them. First, the GAO, the Government Accountability Office. That's Congress's independent watchdog. They have finally opened an investigation into Trump's DOJ and the handling of the Epstein files. The investigation, it was requested by a couple of senators, 4 senators actually, including Republicans and Democrats, Republican Murkowski, Democrats Merkley, Lujan, and Dick Durbin. And their letter that was sent last month alleged that the DOJ illegally redacted the names of these powerful businessmen that are all over the files, while at the same time, they released the names and even the lewd photographs of Epstein's victims. They have been protecting the predators, and that's what we've been screaming this entire time. Number 2, in the U.S. District Court for D.C., a journalist and former prosecutor, Katie Phang, filed a lawsuit against Todd Blanche, the acting attorney general, alleging that Blanche personally directed the DOJ to violate the Epstein Files Transparency Act, the law that Trump had to sign into law in November. If you remember, the deadline to release everything was December 19th last year. The DOJ missed that deadline, then they started trickling out a fraction of what was promised, redacting the names of the powerful men, the alleged abusers, and still doxing the victims. The DOJ retracted documents that referred to Donald Trump, and they were slow to retract the documents that referred to the victims. And just so you understand who's who here, Katie Phang, that is a Yale-educated former Miami-Dade prosecutor. The man she's suing has been running cover for Donald Trump since 2024. This is the guy who's been promoted twice for his loyalty, not because he's a great attorney. And he's now at the top of the DOJ. A former federal prosecutor versus the president's former defense lawyer litigating over whether or not Trump's DOJ can hide a list of PDF files from the American public. That is the country we're living in right now. And in Washington, King Charles III from the UK came to town on a state visit to celebrate the 250th anniversary of American independence. That's ironic. With all the pomp and circumstance that the British pretty much do better than anyone on earth. It's pretty much all they do better, the British royal family, that is. And right at the same time, 2 miles down the road on Pennsylvania Avenue on Capitol Hill, Democratic Representative Ro Khanna is hosting a roundtable with Epstein survivors. He asked the king to meet with these survivors privately, and the king said no. Queen Camilla said no. The British ambassador instead told Khanna that the king would acknowledge the survivors during a joint address to Congress. Nothing more than lip service. Khanna said, by the way, that he hopes his flunkies don't take out the acknowledgement from his text. Now, why does the British family decline to meet with Epstein survivors? That's right, because the king's brother, the former Prince Andrew, is currently under criminal investigation, which is a lot more than anybody in the US is getting, in the UK for the same things. And the king, the symbolic head of the British judiciary, can't be seen to comment on his own brother's pending criminal case. The royal family is simultaneously the most institutionally compromised and the most procedurally cautious institution on the planet. And it's a perfect microcosm for the entire Epstein story. Everyone knows, yet no one seems to know. And number 4, this one. This is the kind of story that if you saw that Netflix put out a documentary on it, you'd say, that's fake. It's too on the nose. The audience, they're not going to buy this. Because a journalist, Alyssa Valdez Rodriguez from the New Republic, reported that Jeffrey Epstein's New Mexico ranch, that Zorro Ranch, the creepy ranch out there, all 10,000 acres of it with a private airstrip, a helipad, a heated garage, it was built starting in 1993 by a New Mexico company called Bradbury Stam Construction. Bradbury Stam claims to be the largest industrial commercial contractor in New Mexico. They're not a residential builder. They don't build houses. What they do build are things like classified facilities at Los Alamos and at Kirtland Air Force Base. So they have classified construction contracts at a New Mexico nuclear weapons lab. They build vaults for nuclear scientists. They do secret. They do secure. They do off the books. And then in 1993, they took a job off their resume building this 10,000-acre desert compound for a financier that nobody had heard of yet. And this is where it gets truly weird, so stick with me. Ghislaine Maxwell's father, Robert Maxwell, the guy who fell off a yacht under mysterious circumstances in '91, was already being publicly tied by the FBI's own files to an Israeli intelligence operation. It involved a piece of software called Promise, which the Maxwells were selling with backdoors built into it, to the very same New Mexico nuclear weapons labs that Bradbury Stam builds for. And all of this is in documents from the FBI. So what does a military contractor building nuclear weapons facilities want with the daughter of a man linked to that same nuclear weapons facility for a foreign intelligence service? That's the question. And nobody in the government is currently going to answer it. And you may recall that after sitting for years, then being secretly purchased by a former state senator, this ranch is finally being investigated by New Mexico Attorney General Raul Torres. The New Mexico legislature, they voted in February to create a truth commission, and they want immediate access to all of these federal files, including these FBI files. And yet the Trump DOJ is sitting on top of it. And at that ranch, we know of the horrific things that took place there. 60 Minutes Australia, because presumably CBS over here is too chicken to cover something like this. 60 Minutes Australia released an episode that featured the stories of survivors of the Zorro Ranch. And these stories are horrific. And I won't tell you about them on this video, but you can find their accounts yourself. And fortunately, someone, Raul Torres' office, they are investigating. The Epstein files are not going away, thankfully. We've got watchdogs opening investigations. We've got lawsuits being filed. We've got the King of England in town, and he's not going to meet with the survivors, but thankfully he's getting called out for it. That ranch in New Mexico, that story keeps getting darker and darker, and in the middle of it all, sitting at the top of the DOJ, is Donald Trump's former personal criminal attorney, Todd Blanche, and he thinks we should move on. Look, we know that Donald Trump's name is in the Epstein files. The DOJ has on record redacted documents about Donald Trump. The DOJ has on record restored documents about Trump only after public outcry. The DOJ has on record redacted the names of the powerful men who allegedly abused children while leaving the names of those children unredacted. The DOJ still has files they will not release. And there's one thing and one reason only that that's happening, and that is because the president is allegedly implicated. The Attorney General is his attorney, and the entire architecture of accountability has been replaced by men whose only job is to keep their boss's name out of the headlines. And until Donald Trump no longer has power, the dam won't break. After, it will break in a single afternoon. Quote me on that. And we'll all sit there and watch a decade or more worth of obstruction become the biggest political scandal of our generation in roughly 6 hours. The only question is how many years from now. Subscribe to the channel. Leave me a comment. We are following every single day until this breaks because someone has to.